Hey everybody, this is Evan Rogers. We're coming back at you with our next Yokai video. These are on Instagram. The name of the game is short, and I'm stuttering. This is once again Yakumo Sensei telling us all about the term yokai. We are on the sentence. That's this one up here. Yokai という呼び方は明治時代から昭和初期にかけて定着した比較的新しいもので、江戸時代まではもののけ、あやかしなどの呼び方が使われてました。Alright. However, that doesn't have the Hiragana. It's going to be tricky to see. I can't highlight things, so I have this amazing thing on Patreon where you got vocabulary, the readings, the sentences, translations, all to use. However, that is tiny for a video, so we have to crank it up. Now, this is too big for everybody. We can't see the whole sentence, so we're going to go chunk by chunk, which is unfortunate because I want to get it all in one shot, just that, we're limited by technology. Until I can blast the information into your brain, we're kind of stuck. Yokai to yobikata wa. So the wa particle, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about, I'm going to use the word yobikata. I'm going to just translate it as the term, the way of calling. It literally means how we call, how we say, how we call something. To yokai to yobikata, the way of calling these things a yokai, calling these things yokai, how we call these things yokai. So the term yokai wa, Meiji Jidai kara, from the Meiji era or the Meiji period, depending on what term you want to use, Showa shoki ni kakete, through the Showa period. Through is the ni kakete here, so that's a new grammar point for a lot of people. And the shoki means the early years, from the Meiji Jidai through the beginning, the early years of the Showa era. Teichak shita, that is, it is set, it is formed, it has become established. Hikakuteki atarashii mono de. So it is a relatively new thing. So mono is thing, atarashi new thing, hikakuteki atarashi mono. It is a relatively new thing. Relative, hikakuteki relative. It is a relatively new thing that has been established, that has become to be, it has set in stone to an extent, or become set. Techaku is modifying mono. So there's a verb here. It is being used ad nominally before a noun. However, in between that verb and the noun is hikakuteki atarashi, another an e adjective chunk. So we have, it is established, a relatively new thing that has been established through the early years of the Showa, from the Meiji Jidai, from the Meiji period. And we're talking about calling things yokai. Let me scroll down so we can get that translated. So we're talking about how it is a relatively new term that has gotten set in stone around the Meiji Jidai, around the Meiji era. I probably have scrolled too far and we lost the. There we go. Great. And then this is the te form of de, or te form of da, really, de. So being that way, being that it's a relatively new term that did all that stuff that I just said, Edo Jidai made wa mononoke, ayakashi naro no yobikata ga tsukawaremashita. Okay. So through or until the end of, made really means until, but really kind of they're kind of saying like through the Edo Jidai, which comes before those other two periods. So through slash until the Edo Jidai, yobikata ga tsukawaretemashita. These terms, they're going to mention some other terms. Other terms, yobikata. Other terms, other ways of saying this thing. Other ways of expressing. Other ways of calling these phenomenon. Ga tsukawaretemashita were used. Mashita, it is done. Te imashita, was done or was being done. Passive, tsukawareru. So the normal verb is tsukau, tsukaimasu, to use. Tsukawareru, was used, is used. Te imashita, so this would be the past continuous passive. That's a long thing. It's passive, it's continuous, and it's past. Did I already say that one? Past, continuous, and passive. So tsukawarete imashita. Tsukau, tsukaware, passive. Tsukawarete, te form. Tsukawarete imasu, currently or happening au courant. Imashita, past continuous. So it had been used. This way of, so through the Edo Jidai, these terms were used. Things like this, the Nado, and the sort. So what terms are we talking about? We're talking about Mononoke. The Mononoke no Hime, the Mononoke Hime. This is the Princess Mononoke's Mononoke. So, Mononoke translates to roughly a specter, an evil spirit. And then Ayakashi translates to something like a ghost. Ooh, ghost, suspicious things, like a ghost, an evil spirit. So, the terms Mononoke and Ayakashi and things like that, Nado, and things like that, Nado. And then notice how these are nouns and they're going into the word yobikata, which is also a noun. So we connect them with the no particle. So through slash until the Edo Jidai, terms like Mononoke and Ayakashi were being used. And that is your yokai video. Let's see my exciting translation. The way we call things yokai is a relatively recent thing. Let me scroll down a little bit. That became established from the Meiji era, 1868 to 1912. So this Meiji era is the period after the samurais got booted out by the emperor. 1868, that's post-American Civil War. What is talking about the Civil War? Because after the American Civil War, America had steam technology, coal-burning technology. They made giant ships that belched smoke, and they went right across the Pacific to Japan, said, hey, Japan, stop being isolationist and open up, otherwise we're going to take over your country. So the three ships, Commodore Perry's three ships went into Japan. Japan tried to stop them, but they couldn't do anything because these ships were just so much better than Japan's navy. Plus, Japan wasn't expecting a naval invasion because they're all like samurai. And so America just said, hey, open up or we're going to take you over. And they came back the next year, and Japan was like, hey, we're going to trade. Don't kill us. And that is the beginning of the Meiji era. That if you saw the movie with Tom Cruise, The Last Samurai, that's the story of the switch from the Edo Jidai to the Meiji era. So the Edo period is 1603 to 1867, 1868 to 1912 is the Meiji era. And then there's actually a Taisho period in between them. And then the early Showa period is 1926 to 1989. It's kind of a more modern thing. Let's start this translation one more time. The way we call things yokai is a relatively recent thing that became established from the Meiji era through the Showa period. Same thing. The terms specter, evil spirit, mononoke, and suspicious things, ayakashi, were used until the Edo period. So throughout the Edo period, until the Edo period, something like that. Okay, great. Hey, there goes the video.